level of detail expressions, the include level of detail expression. The include scoping keyword allows us to include additional dimensions to our aggregated calculations. In essence, we are adding dimensions to those that are in the view's level of detail. And this is what it looks like. So sometimes you might want to build an aggregation. You wish that you had the ability to include some dimensions in there, even though you don't want to display it. To take into account, but not display. And there is where include becomes very useful. So let's go into Tableau and explore this. Let's click on Microsoft Excel. Let's load in your Superstore data source. And once ready, let's take orders and drop it in to the query panel. And let's go to our sheet. Again, we are going to build a very simple data visualization just to highlight the power of the include LOD. Let's take order date and drop it into columns. Let's take region again and let's drop that into rows. At the same time, I want us to take category and drop that into rows as well. Let's double click cells, but this is where include becomes very useful. If you wanted the average cells, for example, you can see this is quite easy to do in Tableau. However, if you look at the following values, imagine if we wanted to average the average per category, i.e. average and average. We can easily do that. However, we might not want to show the category. Let's see, let me just create the LOD expression with you. We'll create it together and then we can see what we mean here. But the key is that if I take away category, you get the average of everything within your data set. However, I want to average for each of the categories first and then average them afterwards. So let's see this in action. Let's put category back. Let's create our include LOD expression. So we're going to say average. We're going to say cells per category. So not the total average of all items, but per category. Curly bracket to open. Let's put include. Now this is the interesting thing. We are going to include category for now. And we are going to make the aggregation the average of cells. Nice and simple. And now let's click apply. Let's double click this to include this in our data visualization. As you can see, the numbers are exactly the same. There's no real difference because we're including category. Category is already in the data visualization, so it's already included. But what happens if we remove category? Because we don't want to see it. That's our data visualization. Oop, let me just make sure we average the LOD that we created. As you can see, the numbers are slightly different now. The reason being is that your average cell is not taking into account the category. It's just doing an average of everything within your database. What our level of detail expression is doing is that we are taking the average of each category and then doing the average afterwards. So as you can see, an average of an average, i.e. we're including this data, this dimension that is not in our view. It's not in our tooltip, detail is nowhere to be found apart from in the data. We are taking that into account into our data visualization, into our view, and hence we are including. So what I want you to do is explore this, change the dimension, Try to get your head around how include works and how you can use it in your own data visualizations. Once you're happy, let's move to the next lesson.